finally finished Kingdom Hearts 3. This is really a journey that I started at the beginning of the year going through the entire franchise, and they really didn't make it easy to play through the Kingdom Hearts games. I don't know why they didn't just use sequential order rather than have all these spin-offs that were actually important to the story, but that is for a different topic. What I will say is that Kingdom Hearts 3 is a huge step up when it comes to production value. One thing that I tend to see when it comes to anime Japanese RPG games is games that often don't have great production values. Persona 5 as an example, while it is often a very praised game, if you just focus on the animations and the far too often missing dialogue, it's something that Japanese developers often do in their games. Kingdom Hearts 3 though, has both fluent animations alongside a game that is almost entirely voice acted. Sadly, the voice acting can be inconsistent at times, and something that I noticed to be a very poor point in some worlds, but overall they did do a good job in this game. From sprawling action pieces to gorgeous worlds, and something that I really find to be a strength in this game is level design. There are so many games anymore that focuses on an open world, but for me, I've always found linear games with a great level design to be more interesting, and that is exactly what Kingdom Hearts 3 offers. It almost has a Nintendo-like creativity when it comes to each world, and you get such a great amount of variance that the game never feels stale. The combat is also excellent, though a little too simplified. This isn't Devil May Cry when it comes to complexity of combos, and you can get away with mainly just mashing your melee button over and over. In fact, I would recommend you up the difficulty in Kingdom Hearts 3 because it is far too easy. I actually probably used the block command maybe 20 times in the entire game, with most of that happening the last few boss fights simply because how easy the standard difficulty is, and unfortunately when you start the game you can't change the difficulty settings. What makes this worse is you get special attacks constantly, which while looks cool and everything, it puts the game on easy mode and you will have some kind of power attack at pretty much all times in the game. So if you're looking for a challenge, you need to up the difficulty before the game starts. You cannot change it once it starts. I can't stress that enough. You can also buy Koopa coins which will revive you, and one special command actually turns Sora into a shadow which regains all of your health. AP also regenerates decently fast, and you can use your magic to heal yourself with little to no repercussion. Let me put this a different way. I rarely use block and I never had to use a single item in this game on standard difficulty because there was simply no need. The good thing for me though is that I actually like Kingdom Hearts story a lot, so for me I was still able to enjoy it just because of this aspect alone, and Kingdom Hearts 3 won't disappoint. Sure, the story is just as convoluted as ever, and they just kind of expect you to believe whatever nonsense they come up with, but it is interesting. I'm not gonna lie though, there's times that I don't know whether to be mad at Kingdom Hearts because of its nonsense, or to be happy because it's still interesting. It's a conflicting feeling. See, in writing you often hear about writers saying fantasy is the easiest genre to write because you can make your own rules, and I have mostly disagreed with this standpoint. Fantasy is my favorite genre, and I read books all the time, and something that I once heard from the author Brandon Sanderson was that when you are writing, you should be making a promise to the reader at the beginning of the book. In other words, you already have your rules made, but with Kingdom Hearts, they are constantly throwing in new rules to try to fit their narrative, making most key plot points useless. It's like this character died, but now all of a sudden he or she is back alive because some new rule that we made, and frankly, it just doesn't make sense. It's almost as if the writers of Kingdom Hearts heard Brandon Sanderson talk about promises and thought, we will see about that, mwah, ah, 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 ah. Like I said though, Kingdom Hearts is still interesting, but you need to turn off your mind at the same time because if you overthink it, you may just be left with more questions than answers. What I do think the story does very well though is the characters. The characters really do make Kingdom Hearts shine. Whether that be Riku, Axel, Sora, Goofy, Donald, or the countless other characters, this is what will keep you engrossed. They all have their own unique personality and can make any situation enticing. It's nice to see a JRPG character in Sora that is a little bit more upbeat as well, because it's far too often that we see the same moody protagonist, and I think Sora fits the Disney world perfectly. Sadly, I would have liked to seen some of the side characters more, because some of the most interesting characters are side characters, and it really isn't until the last act of the game that they start showing up on a regular basis. Which leads me to my last complaint. The pacing in Kingdom Hearts 3 is not great. It starts off really strong and some great worlds, but the later worlds in the game, they start to see a noticeable dip in quality. In fact, I think they should have just scrapped the Pirates of the Caribbean world completely, and the main story really only starts to ramp up at the end. The pacing isn't as bad as something like Persona 5, which I talked about earlier, but it does have issues. Nonetheless, Kingdom Hearts 3 is still a great game. Kingdom Hearts 3 has interesting and unique characters, an intriguing but often confusing story, and fun and flashy combat. It is often held back by its own nonsense and inconsistent pacing, but Kingdom Hearts 3 is still such a magical game that I would automatically recommend it for the wild ride. Just prepare to be in for the long haul.